Great Bliss. Just need a few moments to get things set up. I woke up this beautiful, glorious Thursday, and I guess I laid in the bed until I couldn't anymore. How are you? How are you? Let's see, what hexagram are we on today? So, I think on the last we left, we were on 19. Was that biting through? You know what? I'm not even sure. Okay, so I think we are on hexagram number 20. Yeah. I think we are on hexagram number 20. I could be wrong. So if anyone is in a live stream, if they remember, I'll check right before we start. So I'm just going to go ahead and get these ready. So you'll have a little time to get your beverage going, and then we'll get started. So let's see. I just want to double check. I probably really should put the hexagram in the video. Okay, let's see, where were we the last time? Okay. All right. Okay, Nala. All right, here we go. And I can see which one we were on. Oh, wow. We are further ahead than I thought. So we did 21. So we were actually on hexagram number 22. So let me go ahead and get that out, I believe. And that is grace. Grace is our hexagram for today. Grace is definitely an amazing thing. When you find yourself in a situation in life where you truly have to rely on grace to get you through. Okay, let's get this started. All right, here we go. So just got to get this card out. And I decided today to bring back the Wisdom Keepers. The Wisdom Keepers, that's a lot of fun. All right, luminosity, beauty, and grace. So what is in my cup today is, how does it go? Okumidori Sencha. Okumidori Sencha. That is what's in my cup. And I am a distributor of isogenic collagen elixir. This is marine-based collagen. If you're interested in learning about it, let me know. It's a liquid collagen that you take every day. Collagen is important for healthy and youthful skin. It's important for the connective tissues. It's important for a lot of things. And as we age, our bodies create less and less collagen, hence the sagging and blah, blah, blah. I've taken a lot of different collagens, and this marine collagen, this liquid marine collagen, is very easy on the stomach. As a lot of the times My main problem with the collagen is it would upset my stomach. All right, so let's get to meet our wisdom keeper, and then we will get started. We're looking for hexagram or wisdom keeper number 22. I went over to my storage unit yesterday to retrieve some of my art supplies. I realized that my storage facility probably has 60% art supplies in it. Cannot believe. So I think that just means I need to get to creating, manifesting. We are almost there. Let me see, understanding. Okay. It's always like that. The very thing you're looking for is at the bottom of the deck. Yep. Just 3 cards from the bottom. So in the Wisdom Keepers, it is graciousness. Graciousness. So we're going to look at graciousness for our reading today. My apologies for being gone for a couple of days. It just needed a little bit of a break. And of course, Nala is right here in my lap. Okay, so we're looking at Wisdom Keepers. And this is Inner Guidebook for the Wisdom Keepers. 64 Faces of Awakening by Rose Aronson. Okay, so Wisdom Keeper number 22, graciousness. Graciousness means that you act with grace and consideration in everything you do. The gift is graciousness. The shadow is dishonor. The city is grace. Program partner number 47 by Richard Budd. So I'll share with you the wisdom story for graciousness. I was born into a well-respected family that cared a great deal about its reputation. But beneath the veneer, there was terrible dysfunction. When my body began to change into a beautiful young woman's body, an admired family member abused me sexually. I felt too afraid and ashamed to tell anyone what was happening. Instead, I tried desperately not to feel. Whenever a forbidden feeling arose in my heart, I'd throw myself on the floor and pray that God would make me good and pious. Because I showed such unusual religious fervor for a young girl, I was sent to a secluded monastery to live a modest life of study and prayer. Relieved to be in a safe place, I gladly renounced all material things, took a vow of celibacy, and dedicated my life to selflessness. To all at the monastery, I was a proper, calm, and balanced woman, and a keen listener. But on the inside, I often seethed with inappropriate feelings that I couldn't bear to accept, much less express. I distrusted my pain, rejected my beauty, hated my needs, and judged my desires. I couldn't say no to requests for support, even when I was sick. I felt disgusted at even the tiniest bit of passion, anger, or sexual feelings within me. One day, during a prayer group, a sister bravely shared about an experience of having been raped as a child. In the midst of her sharing, my body was hit by a tidal wave of memories, humiliation, and shame. Instead of looking up to God and praying for the feelings to go away, I buried my head in my hands and sobbed. For the first time in my life, I shared about what had happened to me. I hid nothing from anyone, not even myself. As the pain, shame, and loneliness of my past erupted out of my throat, I felt a kind of light and love descend into my chest, one I'd never experienced in all of my days of prayer. And when I opened my eyes, I was met with such love, compassion, respect, that it felt like the entire cosmos was singing. Now I regarded myself as deeply as I regarded others. I no longer need to hide my beauty, dishonor my boundaries, or withhold my feelings to engage graciously with the world. Welcome, Lapo. And so my gift to you from this Wisdom Keeper, 64 Faces of Awakening, I have come to tell you that there is nothing in you that is unworthy of love or of reverence. The very things you think you should hide or get rid of are exactly what need to be seen, felt, and expressed. Push nothing away. Transparency is the ultimate path towards grace. Be unwaveringly gracious towards every part of yourself, every feeling, every painful experience. By honoring all that is within you, you will experience the poetry and music of even the most agonizing moments. You will naturally find yourself being gracious towards others, touching their emotions, hearts, and souls with the milk of human kindness, and they will bloom in your presence. At your core, you are a gloriously unique manifestation of grace. Honor your suffering, and you will discover your gift to the world. So that is graciousness. That there is graciousness. And that happens, you know, it's usually one or two paths that people usually take when they have been victims of abuse. The one path is they grow up, they keep their rage and their pain and their sorrow within, and then as they grow up, that inner rage and pain and sorrow becomes turned outward to others. Generally speaking, sometimes to the person closest to them. So they might show a level of graciousness to the external world, but then to those immediately close to them, they are abusive, angry. They can show greatly and narcissistic tendencies. And then there's the other kind where inwardly that rage is turned and it's kept there inwardly. And then outwardly, they absolutely have no boundaries. Even the other person who becomes abusive to others lacks boundaries as well. And Lapo asked, how do you honor suffering? Well, we just saw it right there in the story of graciousness. We allow ourselves to face those emotions, to face that suffering, to what you notice what graciousness did when she was abused. She hid it. She kept it to herself. She didn't tell anyone. And it may look like she worked through her pain through prayer and meditation, but what she did was she buried her pain. She buried it. She stuffed it down. She wouldn't allow herself to feel anything. And so that is how you dishonor yourself in suffering, by burying your pain. I have an example of someone I knew who had a sibling who passed away, and they buried that pain. They couldn't allow themselves to accept it. And there was an incident where we were speaking, and it was something that I brought up, reminded them of that deceased loved one. And tears started to come out of that person's eyes. And I noticed immediately that person like wiped those tears away, gripped their fist, and sort of crawled through. And I asked them, what are you doing? And they responded to me, they have to turn that, they're turning that pain into anger. They're not going to allow themselves to feel that pain. But the negative consequences of that was this person developed a hard shield around their heart. And anytime love would begin to appear in their life, they became very jealous and angry and abusive, and pushed love away. And so they dishonored their suffering. They dishonored the pain of losing someone whom they loved and respected very much. And then their continued pattern the rest of their life up until that point, their continued pattern was to suppress their pain and their sadness. And suppressed suffering and pain and sadness, what does it turn into? It turns into rage and anger and outbursts, because emotions have to be expressed. Those emotions, they turn into cancers that attack the body. They turn into premature aging. So if you want to honor pain, now it's not so much of honoring suffering. Suffering is what we choose to indulge in when we do not honor the pain. How do we honor pain and what we're going through? By facing the emotions, getting help, therapy, counseling, talking. Sometimes we do it with our friends, but it's probably best to engage with, I hate to use the term professionals, but people who are able to deal with that. For example, women or men who have been in domestic violence situations, reaching out to domestic violence centers. They always have volunteers that are there to speak with people. And what's interesting is these volunteers are people who have also gone through some sort of abuse. And I always say, as painful it can be, dealing with abuse, going through that, but when you're survivors, you've gained wisdom from your situation and you are able to help others. So I hope that helps you. Processing emotions and facing the emotions are the best way to honor the pain. So let's set that there. Probably won't be able to see it, but at least it's still sort of in the picture. Well, it's not in the picture, but I see it. Okay. So our hexagram is 22, luminosity, and we're looking at mountain over fire, mountain over fire. So let's get to that. And Kursan Hong, and decoration. It's interesting. So we have graciousness and we have decoration. I wonder why he decided to use that term. But I figured before I even get started with reading any of the interpretations or translations, let's just jot through the Bagua, the individual Bagua. And I'm looking at this face. It's so beautiful. The faces, even though they're stylized, There's a beauty in the eyes. Remember years ago, there was this guy traveling around. I think he was called the, was it the Smiling Saint? It was, I'm not sure if it was that, but it was this gentleman whose audience, people would pay him to come sit in the audience, and he would just lock gaze with you, stare deeply into your eyes. I've never experienced that in that setting, but when I speak with people one-on-one, talking, I always like to look into their eyes when I'm speaking to them. So on those summer days, if someone has sunglasses, I like to step out of the sun and like, do you mind removing your glasses so I can see your eyes when you're speaking to me? The eyes truly are the windows of the soul. All right, just finished my collagen. Okay, mountain. Keeping still, preserving energy through stability, resting, respite, completion, discipline, resting state, rumination, meditation, cultivation. The element is earth. The direction, northwest. Season of the yellow path, spring equinox. Season of the Loshu 9 halls, cardinal summer. Life aspect, knowledge, education, skills, wisdom. Medically, it's related to the head. Nala's looking at me. I was just had my hand over my heart, and she's looking like, that hand needs to be on me. So now I'm rubbing her head. Medically, it's related to the hand, joints, skull, neck, upper back, shoulders, tumors, circulation blockage. The chakra is the root chakra. The animal is the wolf. The archetype is the scholar, the artist. The immortal is Zhang Gao Lao, patron of occultists, alchemists, necromancers, and healers. Empowered state of mountain is hexagram number 52. And fire is the next bagua. Is mountain over fire. Radiance, eminence, innovation, cultivation, giving light, illumination, perspicacity. Clarity, rapid movement, the sun, clinging, dependent, intellect, logic. The direction is south. The season is yellow path, cardinal summer. Season, Loshu 9 halls, autumn equinox. Life aspect, ambition, honor, fame, reputation. Medically, it's related to the eyes, small intestine, cardiovascular, autoimmune, metabolic. The chakra is the heart chakra. The animal is the phoenix or the pheasant. The archetype is the general, the minister. The immortal is Lu Dongbin, patron of scholars, the literati, healers, high magic, and invoked for banishings and exorcisms. And the empowered state of fire is hexagram number 30. So the Osho I Ching, the keywords are adornment, bring out beauty, elegance, the outer as a reflection of the inner, variety, charisma, self-expression. So you've got this fire, this passion, this burning fire that's been ignited in you. And sometimes fire can cause suffering, can cause pain. But if it's capped with stability, a strong foundation, it's able to be expressed properly. Okay, so Benabel Wynn's take on hexagram number 22, which is luminosity, beauty, and grace. A great fire illuminates the majestic mountain. You handle ordinary affairs with clarity, precision, and grace. Your public image now suffices for the small undertakings, but the large undertakings will exceed your beauty and grace. If you are content with small gains, then continue in present luminosity. Otherwise, abandon the comforts of the carriage and walk dauntlessly as a humble apprentice, sort of like walking through the fire. Do you yearn for more than the comforts you possess? And that is from Benabel Wen. And Kursan Hong, his is decoration, sign of the sacrifice, somewhat auspicious to go somewhere. Decorating the foot, leaving the carriage to walk. Decorating the beard, luxuriant beard with dew besmeared, good omen, everlasting. Mottled white, horses bright, they're not robbers, only wife grabbers. The garden is all decked out, no presents to speak about, awkward, but all ends well. Decorating on white, faultless. So there's a line in the Bagua Fire. The first line says, mottled white, horses bright, they're not robbers, only wife grabbers. I've heard that there's some ancient practices in certain Asian cultures, and there are some places where it still exists today, where men would kidnap a woman, take her home, and through that kidnapping, she is basically forced to become his wife, because I believe that if she's returned, she's considered soiled. So she's the wife. Some cultures honor that ancient tradition by a mock kidnapping. So, see, a bride is about to be married. I believe the relatives of the groom will come and pretend like they're kidnapping her. But in some places, I hear the actual kidnapping and forcing still actually exists. So, yeah. All right, so let's look at what Brian Brown Walker has to say about hexagram number 22, Mountain over Fire. So pi or P, grace. Here we go. Just trying to get that in the page. Okay. Inside, the strength of simplicity and self-knowledge. Outside, the beauty of acceptance and gentleness. That's really beautiful. You know, inside, when you're going through painful situations, facing your emotions, being willing to face your emotions and work through your emotions, it's a certain type of strength. And sometimes you don't have that strength. I've been in situations where I did not have the strength on my own. I literally did not have the strength. And at that time, I would call my mother every half hour, every 15 minutes, maybe once an hour. In the very beginning of the situation, I'd call my mother every half hour, maybe every 15 minutes. Then eventually it became, I'd call her once an hour or once every 2 hours. She would like remotely hold my hand and encourage me and talk to me. I had friends that I would speak to. Then eventually it became, I would just need that support once every 4 hours, once every 8 hours. And then it became once a day. And the more I was willing to talk it out, face those emotions, gaining more self-knowledge about myself, I remember I was speaking to this one professional, and she says to me, wow, you really have progressed. You really have moved along very well. Most women in your situation, it takes them years to process and to get through these things. And so outside, I guess I appeared to her, this beauty of acceptance and gentleness, while still on the inside, I was working through things. But that is grace, when you're willing to surrender to those emotions and work through them. So grace. This hexagram encourages you to cultivate a quality of grace in your relationships and in your general way of being. In this way, you gain a power greater than any other to open a way through obstructions in your dealings with others. Good fortune is yours if you concentrate on bringing more grace to your thoughts and actions now. It is human nature to want to use forceful ways to get what we want from others and from life. Our egos encourage us to act aggressively, speak boldly, to intimidate others, to buffalo our way through difficult situations. This false power can be momentarily satisfying to our ego, and temporary victories can be won in this way, but genuine power and lasting progress comes from a different kind of strength altogether. They come from inner strength, which is characterized by a steadfast devotion to the principles of humility, simplicity, equanimity, and acceptance. By gradually letting go of the vain, bullying energy of the ego and accepting the quiet guidance of the higher power, one acquires the substance that makes ongoing good fortune a possibility. This is a time to relinquish self-important maneuvering. Instead, return to stillness and contemplate the inherent wisdom of the principles of the sage. By practicing quiet strength within and gentle acceptance without, you acquire a grace that dissolves all barriers to progress. So there you have it. That is beautiful. And it's such an appropriate reminder. When you find yourself in situations where, say for instance, someone is married and, generally speaking, you enter into a marriage full of trust and hopefully deep-seated commitment to the person you're married, to the marriage itself. It's important to have that commitment to the marriage, because sometimes the person that you're with, that love, like, dislike tidal wave goes up and down. But when you find yourself in a situation where the person that you're married to has their own shadows that they're dealing with, and instead of them dealing with the shadows, they're projecting it on you, whether it's through substance abuse, whether it's through infidelity, all sorts of things. It can greatly satisfy your ego to address those situations, to address them in an aggressive way, because you're being treated aggressively. But after a while, when you realize you're just getting the same results, and because there is some sort of mental deficit, you have to learn to step back. And that's with any relationship and situation. You have to learn to step back and deal with your own internal dialogue and your own internal shadows. And when you find yourself able to gently approach yourself and then learn that there's no way you're going to, get the other person to recognize their behavior and how what they're doing is detrimental, not only to them, to you, to the relationship, whether it's a marriage, whether it's a business partnership, whether it's a sibling relationship. That's where grace sets in. And sometimes that grace, it looks like letting go of any expectations. When you realize that any sort of communication with the person only devolves into, the worst possible hell that you can imagine. Grace steps in when you accept the wisdom of the knowledge that you've cultivated, and you learn to step back and you let go of the situation. And sometimes it means you have to walk away. Sometimes it means you have to put a solid boundary down and refuse communication, because you know that communication will only resort into gaslighting, into denials, into projections and deflections. And then you circle in this endless circle of unhealthy navigation. The acceptance of grace in that situation teaches you it is okay to let go. It is okay to end that physical communication. Pray for that person, meditate for that person, offer to the universe that that person one day, has their own awakening, has their own encounter with grace. And as the saying goes, you know a tree by its fruit. And on that note, I'm going to call this session to an end. Have a busy, busy day. Clients to get ready for. And then on tomorrow, all day at the market in my booth. Yesterday, I made orders for tapestries, for Sacha Sai Baba cone incense, and some metal trinkets. So I'm so excited. Also, new CBD gummies coming in. So I have more product to offer at my booth at the farmers market. And so if you're in the area, stop by and see me at the farmers market in Renegers in Kutztown. Would love to see you. Anyway, I got to get going, guys. You have a beautiful day. Enjoy the sunrise. Enjoy the blue skies. And remember your own inner strength. Never be afraid to look yourself in the mirror and face all the beauty, all of the shadows, all of who you are. And if you need to cry, allow those tears to flow through you. They are cleansing. I love you. Peace and great bliss. Until next time.